On a cold January morning in 1308, a 7-year-old princess shivered as servants adjusted her ceremonial gown. Isabella of France, daughter of King Philip IV, wept silently, knowing she would soon marry Edward II of England, a man nearly 30 years her senior. This marriage was purely political, sealing a truce between France and England over contested territories. Isabella, barely a child, was merely a diplomatic pawn. At the lavish wedding ceremony, Edward openly ignored his young bride, fixating instead on his favorite, Piers Gaveston, his rumored lover. Humiliated, Isabella spent her early years in England isolated and neglected. Edward lavished gifts and attention on Gaveston, further alienating the young queen. In 1312, Edward's nobles rebelled, capturing and executing Gaveston. Edward's mourning was intense, further distancing him from Isabella. Rather than turning toward his wife, Edward replaced Gaveston with another favorite, Hugh Despenser the Younger. Despenser proved even more manipulative, accumulating power and wealth. Isabella, now older, understood her role clearly: produce heirs and remain quietly in the background. In 1316, she bore Edward a son, the future Edward III, followed by 3 more children. Despite fulfilling her dynastic duty, Isabella's treatment worsened. Despenser stripped her of lands, income, and dignity. Her household staff was dismissed and she was forced to beg for resources. This humiliation ignited Isabella's resolve for survival and revenge. Opportunity came in 1325. Tensions with France required diplomatic intervention, and Isabella volunteered to negotiate with her brother, King Charles IV. Once in Paris, she refused to return to England, effectively declaring rebellion. She allied herself with Roger Mortimer, an English exile and fierce opponent of Edward and Despenser. Their alliance quickly blossomed into romance and a joint mission for vengeance. Edward demanded Isabella return, even using their son, young Edward, as leverage. Isabella cleverly arranged for her son to be named Duke of Aquitaine, allowing him to join her legitimately in France. Reunited, she and Mortimer planned their invasion. In September 1326, Isabella returned to England leading an army. The people, tired of Edward's misrule and Despenser's corruption, hailed her as a liberator. Nobles and towns rallied to her cause, forcing Edward and Despenser into flight. They were soon captured. Despenser faced brutal execution, dragged through streets, hanged briefly, castrated, disemboweled, and beheaded, a gruesome warning from Isabella to her enemies. Edward II was forced to abdicate in favor of their son, becoming Edward III. Initially confined comfortably, Edward II was moved to the sinister Berkeley Castle after rescue attempts surfaced. His death in September 1327 became one of history's darkest episodes. According to widespread reports, assassins acting likely on Mortimer's orders with Isabella's complicity murdered Edward gruesomely, inserting a red-hot poker internally to mask external signs of violence. His agonized screams reportedly echoed through the castle walls. With Edward II dead, Isabella and Mortimer ruled as regents, openly flaunting their relationship and accumulating vast wealth and power. Mortimer, now Earl of March, ruled ruthlessly, alienating former allies. Edward III, growing older, resented their dominance and his father's humiliating fate. In 1330, teenage Edward III took decisive action. Using secret passages in Nottingham Castle, he and his allies arrested Mortimer, ignoring Isabella's desperate pleas for mercy. Mortimer was swiftly executed as a traitor. Surprisingly, Edward III spared his mother. Isabella, stripped of power and wealth, lived in secluded comfort at Castle Rising in Norfolk. Her last 28 years were quiet but troubled. She reportedly suffered visions haunted by guilt over Edward II's horrific death. She spent her days in penitence, charitable acts, and prayer. Isabella died peacefully in August 1358, aged 67. She was buried humbly, dressed as a Franciscan nun, with Edward II's heart in a locket on her chest, a final act of remorse or symbolic reconciliation. Servants recounted her speaking to invisible presences, begging forgiveness from the empty air. Despite medieval chroniclers' harsh judgments viewing Isabella as an immoral and cruel queen, modern perspectives see a woman trapped by brutal circumstances. Forced into a child marriage, publicly humiliated by her husband's blatant disregard, and politically and financially oppressed, Isabella's rebellion was a desperate fight for survival. Her relationship with Mortimer, although scandalous, provided the affection and respect she never received from Edward. Her role in Edward II's death, whether driven by vengeance or political necessity, marked her forever as the Wolf Queen. Historians debate her motives and morality, but Isabella undeniably reshaped her fate. Once a vulnerable princess, she became a fearsome ruler, rewriting the rules of power in a male-dominated society. Though her reign ended in solitude and penitence, her strength and determination remain remarkable. Today, visitors to Castle Rising claim Isabella's presence lingers. Guards report sightings of a spectral woman gazing toward London, contemplating past power and lost ambitions. Isabella's story warns of the corrupting influence of power, the human cost of revenge, and society's role in shaping its own monsters. Isabella was not born cruel. She was forged by cruelty. Her transformation from innocent princess to vengeful queen reveals the harsh truths about medieval power, ambition, and survival. Her legacy remains complex. A tragic figure, a ruthless leader, a repentant sinner. A queen whose life echoes the enduring human struggle between vulnerability and vengeance.